You can't see me? 3. The small angel who came into the room, Erda, ignored the pre-conversation and started talking whatever she wanted. For humans, the energy they acquired postnatally, mana, is extremely difficult to handle. The reason why humanity had to spend 10 years in other worlds is also because one has to experience that many number of years to acquire the possibility of using mana. Humanity excluding me. At Yu IlHan's tackle, Erda showed a clear annoyance on her small face and continued speaking. Angel Rita used that point to strongly claim the assistance on the human Yu IlHan, while saying that it was seriously unfair to leave the dropout, who only trained his body a little. Like this, she requested the dispatch of an angel to help him adapt to mana in a short period of time. When he heard that Rita stepped out for him, Yu IlHan felt his heart pound. Although they separated without being able to say their farewells, she also seemed to worry about Yu IlHan. Because of her strong claims, her request was approved. Rita wanted to take on the role herself, but due to the decision of the higher-ups who were worried about a human becoming too close to an angel, I was dispatched in her place. Is that so? It would be a lie if he said he wasn't disappointed, but he also thought that it was instead fortunate. He resolved to become a higher existence in order to meet Rita, but if they met for some random reason before that, wouldn't he be fired up for nothing? However, Erda had the expression of not liking the situation. But now that I'm here, the situation is a bit different to what she said. What is? How is this a little? While scanning Yu IlHan's physical body, which ascended into a new realm without the help of mana, she muttered with a small voice that couldn't be heard by Yu IlHan. Even considering 1,000 years, the evolution of his body was at the level of being unbelievable. If the strong power of mana was added to this body, how far could this human grow? It was to the point that she was curious about it. If they knew that he had trained his body until this point beforehand, then the dispatch of Erda wouldn't have happened. However, Rita drove this work with a force that was never seen before with her, the moment she returned to heaven, and her request, which looked very reasonable on the surface, was passed, prepared, and realized at the speed of grilling beans with lightning. And the situation Erda met was this. However, an already realized thing wouldn't be reverted. Erda, who descended with a mission, couldn't return until she completed that mission. In other words, they were all perfectly done in by Rita. To think she would use such a sly method even though she was an angel, who was supposed to be the most pure existence in the world. Erda sighed again and spoke with a powerless voice. In any case, I'm planning to help you until you can use mana skillfully, so please learn it fast. How will you help me? It's simple. A higher existence, me just being near you, activates the mana inside you. Recognition, control, use. In these regards, you would be able to adapt 10 or more times faster than ordinary people. In the past, when he didn't have a single inkling of mana in his body, it was impossible even with Rita sticking to him for 1,000 years, but now that the great cataclysm had occurred, 1 year was sufficient. This was Erda's calculation. Yu IlHan also didn't know anything about mana, so he could only nod his head at her words. He would just accept whatever she spoke of. When the conversation ended, Erda flew and placed herself on his head. "What are you doing?" he said while brushing his head. But Erda didn't budge a bit. "I have magic cast on me to prevent recognition from other lower existences, so you don't need to mind. So you will continue to stay on top of my head in the future?" "That is so." That was no good. Mostly, the 1.7 terabytes of treasure in his hard drive, and one piled up during the countless years, was in a difficult position. Even Rita didn't stick to him all day. But to think an ambush like this would come now. "I don't care whatever a lower existence like you does. So you don't need to worry. You read my mind?" For that instant, Yu IlHan seriously pondered whether to return the angel or not. But he couldn't miss the opportunity to adjust to mana in just 1 year. Yes, it's 1 year. He needed to endure for just 1 year. Yu IlHan cried blood and accepted reality. "I really don't care if you breakdance, belly dance, or dance revolution. I care. And you know what the last one is, right?" The next day after humanity returned, the Korean morning was mixed with the anxiety that the world would change and a slight expectation for the changing society. It looked very lively on the surface. The people Yu IlHan saw, after leaving his house with Erda on top of her head, was like that. If one ignored the soldiers in army uniform with guns securing the perimeter while walking due to the joint operation with the government. F***CK. I was drinking with a woman at my side until yesterday morning. But it's better than the climbers in the mountains, sir. I heard monsters have already appeared. If I kill monsters, I can at least level up. I need to find my thunder sword quickly. Corporal Co, the entire regiment knows that you didn't earn a skill until the end in Gundia? Yu IlHan shook away the breath of despair which would come his way in the near future and hurried to college. T/N. All males have to go through a compulsory military service in Korea. He thought that he walked slowly, but as it took the amount of time it would take him by car and he arrived early, he felt funny even when he himself thought about it. He went to the humanities campus of Sungkyunkwan University. T/N. One of the top-tier units in Korea, will be shortened to Sungyu when necessary. Befitting of being built within the city, Sungkyunkwan University was built on a hill that made its students seriously wonder whether it was commuting or climbing, thanks to using a small area of land as efficiently as possible. Of course, that level was laughable for the current Yu IlHan. The campus was filled with a lot of people. As most of them were young college students, they tended to think positively about what they became able to do rather than the crisis they were about to meet. And most of them were talking about a topic that Yu IlHan didn't know about. Did you make a skill? How about you? I managed to make one somehow. Phew. 2 for me. Yu IlHan asked with a small voice. What does it mean to make a skill? It means creating something to use in an attack somehow by combining tiny bits of mana and insignificant records. As a higher existence, in my view, even if you combine all the skills that they are boasting about, I think that it will pale in comparison to your concealment. Concealment wasn't a skill I wanted. One could arbitrarily make skills? Anyway, this was something he didn't learn yesterday. Yu IlHan perked up his ears and walked. New stimulation. New information. They were all things that he loved. Anyway, the results. In the end, who was Empress? Nobody knows. Does that make sense? It's the Seoul Sung-Yu's person who flew her name for 10 years in Lanpa, and we don't know. But wouldn't we know if monsters appear? I don't know. Maybe she would wear a mask again. He learnt that there was a woman called Empress who showed mighty ability in the other world in his university, and when would dungeons appear? Even if it appears, you wouldn't be able to go in, I think. There's a level requirement. What level are you? Level 7. I'm level 4. Hugh. *T. He learnt that there were places called dungeons in other worlds and that one needed to have high levels in order to enter it. Other than that, there weren't many information that he could make out. But there was a reward just in knowing about dungeons. Dungeon. It was a word that made a person's heart pound. In the lecture room he arrived quickly. There were already many people. To think that they attended school even after they spent 10 years in other worlds. Did they perhaps also miss the ordinary lives like Yu IlHan did? While soaking himself in emotion, he looked around the lecture room. But there wasn't a person he knew anyway. It was trivial, but what is the reason that he became sad all the time? Yu IlHan, who found an empty seat and sat down, was afraid that he might be heard by other people, so he wrote the questions he had until now that he didn't ask What is a dungeon exactly? And when he held it up slightly, who was on top of his head, recognized that and spoke. It's a trap. A trap. As he heard an answer that was too unexpected, Yu IlHan ended up speaking out loud. However, his concealment was truly amazing and that level of voice wasn't found out by the people around him. So sad. It's a trap installed by God. By installing attractive baits for monsters, it attracts them and closes the exit. The gathered monsters become trapped inside the dungeon, and unlike monsters, humans, who can freely enter and exit once they have the qualifications, can hunt with more safety. That's also a consideration from God to the humans, huh? But isn't it over if they're trapped? You can just leave it alone, right? A dungeon is naturally destroyed after a certain period of time, so the monsters inside it have to be dealt with before that. In the first place, there are many monsters who don't get caught in the trap, and there are many which can destroy it, and many that can camouflage as dungeons so carelessness is forbidden. While Yu IlHan and Erda were conversing, the professor came and the lecture started. However, the professor didn't seem to have an intention to teach a lecture, and the students didn't seem to want to listen properly either. Yu IlHan, who expected a lecture after such a long time, became slightly disappointed. Every one of you will have to adapt fast to the changing society. The situation is that UN is already proposing the banning of indiscreet use of mana, and a regulation on leveling up, and strong countermeasures including America and China are focusing their attention to the changing environments and monsters due to mana. According to how Korea would act, countless industries would collapse and countless other industries would rise. During the entire 50 minutes of the lecture, the professor was haughtily spouting out what anyone could think up about. Thanks to that, Yu IlHan forgot the centuries of loneliness in an instant and waited earnestly for the end of lecture. No, he questioned if he needed to keep going to university in the first place. In his life in the future, how much importance would a certificate of university graduation have? He could only shake his head. He just came as he knew how much worry his parents would have since they knew he couldn't use mana. If he became able to use mana, then he will stop going to a school where he's ignored by everyone. It wasn't his fault. It was the society and the university who's bad. Erda spoke as if she predicted what he was thinking at that moment. The efficiency in training mana doesn't become different no matter what you do in whatever place. No, there's one. What is it? Hunting monsters. I don't like dangerous things. He couldn't even use mana, but she wanted him to confront monsters? It was Yu IlHan who rejected, thinking it was nonsense. But Erda spoke as if she knew that such a reaction would come. Like the humans on Earth having low levels right now, the monsters which would appear later and the dungeons too would have low levels. It is because they came into contact with mana just recently. There may be high-level ones or colonies from natural disasters, but that is, in the end, a special case, and it's possible to recognize and avoid beforehand. That's true, but now that the absolute majority of the monsters are weak, it would be advantageous in the long term to adapt to mana faster by acquiring experience. Yu IlHan hated dangerous things. The countless years of immersing in self-training was, in the end, for him to not die meaninglessly after the great cataclysm. However, perhaps as a side effect, as countless years have passed, when he knew that it wasn't dangerous, he had the boldness to unhesitatingly move his body once he was sure that there was no danger. A typical example would be crossing the world to conquer libraries, and the one where he went out to sea on a fishing boat to reproduce the scene of Moby Dick. At that time, he thought that it was necessary, but strictly speaking, it was close to the domain of amusement rather than the domain of training. He had acted unconsciously to not paralyze his mentality in the flow of the countless time. Good. I'll have a go then. This was the same. He judged that it wasn't dangerous, and when he was assured that it would help his survival in the future, he expressed his will to do it without a moment of hesitation. Erda spoke as she waited for this moment. You won't be able to go inside dungeons as there is a level requirement. So you would have to hunt the monsters outside. Considering your level now, then wouldn't you be able to kill monsters around level 25? I'm still level 1, you know? I can't even use mana, you know? Instead, you have a monstrous physical body. I even said this considering that you don't have a sturdy defensive equipment. If you have a good defensive equipment, then you will be able to hunt even higher level monsters. The problem was to find such monsters. Phew. I'm a higher existence. To get away from you faster. Not that. To help your growth, I can help you finding monsters. How? If there is a monster nearby, then I can detect it. In the end, the route Yu IlHan chose was the internet again. Honestly, he didn't expect much. He planned to leave with Erda as soon as the lecture ended. However, F***CK. People inside the building never set foot outside from now on. Who the hell lied? Outside right now is hell. The inside is also hell. Can't you see the building collapsing? It's the first time I saw soldiers shooting guns since I was born. **T. Soldier bros are so cool. Yeah. You'll be able to shoot them soon, happy face. Before training mana to level up, don't we have to legalize arms first? The articles in a community website were slightly over-exaggeratingly harsh. Yu IlHan clicked one of those articles, and not a long time later, one photo came up on the screen. A hunting dog which grew to the size of a bull was attacking a human with a fiercely twisted face. It was too terrible to accept as reality, but the dog was too realistic for it to be a CG. Yu IlHan raised his head. When did the lecture pause? Everyone, including the professor and the students, stuck themselves on the window and looked down on the square. He stood up slowly and approached them. While nobody paid attention to him, he looked down at the narrow grass square over the glass window. They were there. Insects the size of humans, monsters. Author's notes: Rita's inner state is Dance Revolution equals DDR dungeons aren't that important in this work. Thank you for the recommendation, Closet Legnim. As thanks, it's a continuous chapter in order for the readers to not insult me after looking at the recommendation article. Start of the Legend of a Loner. I will come back tomorrow at 6 o'clock. Happy face. You can't see me? 4. While looking at that scene, Yu IlHan was unexpectedly calm. It was because he always thought that a day where this could happen would come. Perhaps other people may also have some worry about this in some corner of their hearts. In fact, they may have more resolve than Yu IlHan. They experienced other worlds for the last 10 years. Wouldn't everyone know well that the Earth is different from before the Great Cataclysm? However, they had insufficient preparation. The fighting power to go against the monsters weren't there no matter how they looked at it, and the levels of the monsters seemed quite high. They either judged the situation wrong, or they don't have the leisure to. Tutorials have already ended. Lord God has already given everything that he can to humanity. Humanity has to survive by itself from now on. Erda's voice sounded quite distant. From that, Yu IlHan felt that she looked at the scene with different eyes. He was convinced that she wouldn't help in any way no matter how much energy she had. Unless an unexpected element comes up. It seemed like there were no casualties yet. However, lest their eyes fall on the buildings, it was a matter of time before a casualty occurs. Actually, they were slowly coming towards the building, that is, the business hall that the students along with Yu IlHan was in. Kaya Wak. What should we do? We gotta run. Everybody calm down. The school has already contacted the who wants to party with me and hunt that. Here. One more casualty please. T/N. Said as if someone's ordering at a restaurant. Run. F*CK. F Finance Hall. Let's run to the Finance Hall. Isn't the roof better? The students who realized that danger was approaching ran out the lecture room while screaming. The professor also sighed and followed them. As a result, in an instant, Yu IlHan was left alone in the lecture room. If it came to this, it was suspicious whether he had a special skill to become a loner. However, he also had no thoughts of sitting there quietly alone in the lecture room. Yu IlHan looked over the window again, and sighed shortly, and started moving. You're planning to go, aren't you? They look much worse than a sperm whale. Isn't this a good opportunity? Monsters are different to animals. Skin. Well, in their case, carapaces become abnormally hard, and their motion capacity changes too. However, yes, there doesn't seem to be any that goes over 20, so it's a good opportunity for leveling up. Yeah, I don't move, it's dangerous. While muttering in self-mockery, Yu IlHan looked around before approaching a desk and taking out its legs. It was insufficient with just one, so he pulled out all 4 of them and grabbed one in his hand while tying up the rest after ripping a part of his shirt and tied it around his waist and tightened it. That happened in 10 seconds after he was left alone. Your handicrafts are neat. Yeah. I was bored, so I played around with some things and I got better at it. Rita. The abs that were revealed due to ripping his clothes were truly perfect. His physical body, which was trained to its extreme limits to become the peak of the living, was revealed slightly. However, it was his own body, so Yu IlHan ran out of the lecture room without reacting to that. At first, he was about to go straight to the square, but he soon remembered that he was bare-faced. No matter how high my concealment level is, they will recognize me if I stir up the square, right? A mask is sufficient. It will probably increase the effect of concealment. If it was a mask, he could think up of one. The underground stationery store of the business hall. When his thoughts reached there, he quickly ran towards the stairs and jumped over the railings. He grabbed onto the pillar to slide down to floor B3. He ran to the stationery store and randomly picked an IR*NM*N mask and put it on his face. This was another 10 seconds. It was an inhuman reaction time. Shall we go? He jumped over the stairs to go to the ground floor and came out to the square. Coincidentally, a human-sized mantis was in the middle of destroying the spinning door of the business hall. Kui thai! Baha! With a strange shout, Yu IlHan's body flew across the air. The moment his razor-sharp kick landed on the mantis's head, its head burst with an unpleasant big sound. It was a refreshing, laughable insta-kill. Experience rises by 800. You have become level 3. 2 health, 2 magic, 3 strength, 3 agility increases. You have awakened close quarters combat LV max. You can evolve it to the next level skill if you have the skill evolution materials. You have earned the record of LV13 Big Mantis. Texts that momentarily appear on his retina and disappear with those. Suddenly, a wondrous strength filled his entire body. This was level, the system of strength that the creatures in the worlds that have come in contact with the Akashic records have acquired. It was the act of stealing the opponent's records and even potential by stealing life. He felt his muscles gaining strength. The millet-sized lump of mana which was emitting a faint light inside his heart was very slightly increasing its size. This was a truly marvelous and wonderful experience. And the other humans experienced this for 10 years? He felt as if he was dying due to being envious. But from now, I'm no different. Yu IlHan landed on the ground and slightly smiled. It wasn't just because he leveled up, but because he was satisfied with his first fight with a monster. It was a different feeling from the animals that he hunted for disassembly. It was more fierce and heavy and thrilling. The new information and new stimulation that Yu IlHan liked so much was raising him to new heights. At that moment, Erda spoke with an uninterested voice. Did you open your eyes to the pleasure of violence? Yes, I will definitely beat you up sometime. The square, which was full of insect monsters, fell into silence again. They didn't seem to think that their comrade will die so easily. However, that was brief. The monsters' gazes focused on the human that killed the big mantis. Ki. Ki kik. Ki ik. Perhaps because their camaraderie was strong. Even the monsters that attacked other buildings became conscious of Yu IlHan and turned their bodies towards him and showed off their hostility. Their numbers were no less than 40. While looking at that, Yu IlHan spoke with a calm voice. Now that I think about it, I didn't learn how to fight groups. Just cover it with your body. They can't kill you with their ability anyway. Using Erda's words as signal, Yu IlHan dashed out. The insect monsters also moved as if they were waiting for that moment. Kui thi. The first one to come at him was a pill bug which rolled itself up to roll towards him. Above it, there was a fly-looking thing that flew towards him while flapping its wings unpleasantly. Yu IlHan burst the fly's head first by throwing the desk leg at it. Then he took out another short spear from his waist and smashed it towards the pillbug. With a refreshing sound that sounded like splitting watermelons, the pillbug's carapace burst away. The desk leg was amazingly still holding out. You have earned 700 experience. You have awakened spearmanship LV max. You can evolve it to the next level skill if you have the skill evolution matrials. You have earned the record of LV11 Big Fly. You have earned 850 experience. You have become level 4. 2 strength, 1 agility, 1 health, 1 magic increases. You have earned the record of LV14 Big Vulgar. This is useful. Above, they were giant mosquitoes seeming like the fly's comrades. And it was 3 at once. Yu IlHan jumped using the pillbug's corpse as foothold while clicking his tongue. After snapping the mosquito's dangerously developed mouth, he swung his short sword to break its head. You have earned 400 experience. You have earned the record of LV7 Big Mosquito. At that moment, one of them swiftly went behind Yu IlHan and tried to bite him. Its mouth touched Yu IlHan's back the moment he realized it, but unfortunately it failed to see Yu IlHan's back. For a low-level mosquito to pierce it, the tough skin had broken its mouth. How dare you! While letting go of the mosquito's corpse, he jumped backwards and swung his short spear. When the short spear which hit cleanly on the mosquito's mouth and smashed its head just like that and was shot down, the remaining one came at him with hostile flapping sounds, but even its tube was grabbed by Yu IlHan and could only be swung around. You have earned 300 experience. Mosquito strike. T/N. Said in English. Qui 3I. Yu IlHan, who landed on the ground while grabbing the mouth of the mosquito, swung it and bullseyed the giant honeybee that flew at him fiercely. The mosquito was killed by the honeybee's sting, and perhaps a honeybee was just a honeybee even after evolving, as the honeybee also died just like that. It was truly a brave death. You have earned 350 experience. You have earned 580 experience. You have become level 5. 2 strength, 1 agility, 1 health, 1 magic increases. You have earned the record of LV10 Big Honeybee. To think it would die with its own attack, it seems like it wasn't perfectly monsterized. But then, what is this level about? Fo. So refreshing. When he turned his gaze while ignoring Erda's mutterings, coincidentally there was a mantis that looked exactly the same as the mantis he killed first, but just 1.5 times bigger, in front of him. Immediately after he recognized that mantis, its scythes, which shined dangerously, swooshed at him with no brakes. Yu IlHan, who limboed the scythe through the short spear backwards in that position to sever the breath of the fly that flew at him from another direction. And when his 2 hands became free like that, he went and did a back tumbling just like that to distance himself from the big mantis. You have earned 380 experience. There are monster reinforcements. Ki. Quon. Just where did they hide before coming out? Flies, mosquitoes, mantises, pillbugs, centipedes, and even cockroaches. He moved his body while clicking his tongue. Heh! Keek! He grabbed the 2 remaining short spears in both of his hands and swung it without restraint to break open the insects' heads. The insects that came like a swarm of bees fell powerlessly like mosquitoes in front of mosquito-repellent incense. You have earned 700 experience. You have earned 550 experience. You have earned 950 experience. You have become level 6. 1 strength, 2 agility, 1 health, 1 magic increases. The body fluids of the insects soaked him, but he didn't mind. What if they were insects? The important thing now was the fact that those monsters were opponents that Yu IlHan could bring out his techniques from the long time of training. Yu IlHan, who rampaged like a crazy storm inside the monsters, was already in a state of half-selflessness. And when some time passed, something flashed in front of his eyes. The honeybee which was about to sting him couldn't even scream before falling onto the ground. When Yu IlHan raised his head, he met his eyes with a woman who held his out towards him, no, to be exact, to the honeybee which collapsed over the countless insect corpses. With a woman who was wearing a cheap H*LK mask which was sold in the underground stationery store in Business Hall. No. I'm worse as IR*NM*N. Stop speaking nonsense and kill those monsters. As Erda's point was truly reasonable, Yu IlHan cleaned out the monsters with effort even while pouting. The woman wearing the H*LK mask also emitted lightning bolts from her hands and attacked the monsters steadily. It was a truly strong destructive power. That's an unbelievable amount of mana quantity. How can she grow that much in just 1 day? Isn't she leveling up like me? Oh, it may be like that. How did you know that mana recovers when you level up? Because my stamina is recovering every time I level up. When H*LK mask joined the fray, the situation settled down soon. There weren't many monsters in the first place, and her attacks also had the power to kill monsters in 1 strike. But perhaps the military already knew that monsters invaded the school, as not long later, several tens of soldiers on 2.5-ton trucks came. However, the scene they saw wasn't one where a square was full of monsters. It was a scene where a man wearing an IR*NM*N mask was splitting the last insect, a centipede, in half with a drop kick. I'm sorry, the F*King truck couldn't climb the hill? Whoa! You have earned 1,250 experience. You have become level 7, 1 strength, 2 health, 2 magic increases. While splendidly ignoring the soldiers, Yu IlHan muttered as he was flipping the centipede's corpse. Isn't there some jewel of the four souls? If you mean a magic stone, there is one. Oh, there really is one? Didn't you say you learnt disassembly? For insect monsters, you have to take out the hardest part of the carapace, which became like that due to mana and the magic stone. I will tell you the parts, so do it now. Okay, wait a bit. Yu IlHan stepped on the joints of the smallest big mantis and pulled out its scythe. The soldiers who were coming to the square stopped while being frightened after they looked at that scene. Who is that guy? What level is he? How did he acquire that much strength in just one day? That was a drop kick. Whatever the others said, Yu IlHan started the first monster disassembly of his life. He couldn't eat the meat, so he threw them away, and as said, he took away the hardest part of the carapace and the magic stone. The scythe of the big mantis was very sharp, so when it was in the hands of Yu IlHan, a disassembly meister, it sliced apart the monster's corpses as it became a peerless sword. You have awakened disassembly LV Max. The soldiers were obvious, and even the H*LK masked woman could only stare at his lively movements dumbfoundedly. When they confirmed that all the monsters had disappeared, the people hiding inside the buildings also started crawling out, but they also couldn't approach Yu IlHan. Is this it? While cutting apart the centipede, a small blue stone rolled out. When he picked it up and asked Erda with a small voice, Erda nodded her head. It's a magic stone, the crystallization of mana. It's a high-efficiency energy and at the same time, the origin of every artifacts. After Yu IlHan wiped it on the grass on the floor and put it in his pocket, he changed his target. Of course, as he was a Korean man with manners, he didn't touch the monsters killed by the H*LK masked woman. The corpses killed by the H*LK mask had unique traces of a burn, so it was easy to identify. It was not that every monster had a magic stone, and not every one of them had hard carapaces, so there were less spoils of war than he thought. There were 8 magic stones with the size of a millet, 3 rice grain-sized ones, 1 soybean-sized one, and a few carapaces the size of his head. Phew! Whoa! Yu IlHan raised his head like a farmer that just finished working on his field. But from some time, the H*LK masked woman was staring at him. Without moving from the place she appeared at the beginning. The people who came out to the square, and the soldiers who came too late, gulped while looking at the confrontation of the two heroes. It was the meeting of the two strongest in Seoul, no, in the country of Korea as a whole, or perhaps even the whole world. How historical was this scene? The H*LK masked woman carefully spoke. It was an unexpectedly calm and unflustered voice. Can you disassemble for me? Yu IlHan fell into thought for a brief moment before replying. How much will you give me? It was the first meeting of the dropout and the Empress. Author's notes, really, I should cut it off at a suitable point, but why do I have so little control? It's not that Yu IlHan's power and the Empress's power is the same. It's just that Yu IlHan was too much of an overkill. Erda's blatant bait. Apparently, there's a plot where Iron Man gets thrashed by Hulk in the Marvel world. The 2.5-ton truck cannot climb the hill. The Jewel of Four Souls, Shirkan no Tama, is an item that appears in Inuyasha. A centipede monster swallowed it at the beginning of the story. Today, I have something to ask of you readers. This chapter is the chapter where Yu IlHan's first fight occurs. What do the readers think of the fighting scene? No, not about whether the author did good or not. That's a problem with the author's ability, so let's put it aside. T to the power of T short, lengthen it. Alright, keep it as it is. Long shorten it. I would appreciate it if you express your opinions.